Reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
You're listening to The Happy Hearthstone. This show is brought to you by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon with Doghouse Systems. By Audible. Get your free audiobook and your free trial today. By GoDaddy. Put your website to work while you play. Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the Happy Hearthstone podcast, the longest running Hearthstone podcast in the history of space and time and cards. I'm your host, Josh Augustine, and this week I'm joined once again by my illustrious companion, Adam Clegg.
Wow, you just keep complimenting me every time I come on the show. It's different every time. I love it.
Well, it's how I get you back. I'm starting to view you kind of as like my co-hosts as like Doctor Who companions, so I'm trying to figure out which one you are. I haven't quite figured it out yet, though.
I'm the illustrious one.
The illustrious one? But which one is the illustrious one?
I'm definitely the most handsomest one.
Okay. Well, there was only really one male companion, so if you're set on being male, then you're pretty much set.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, let's talk about why we're happy first, because we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. I am happy that Warlords of Draenor is coming out on Thursday. We're recording this on Tuesday, and I'm super pumped to go up to level 100, check out all the new stuff. It's one of the few MMOs that I haven't been in the beta at all for, so I really have no clue what to expect other than the occasional news article I read. So I'm super excited just to go in blind.
Are they finally up to level 100 now?
Yeah.
That's
they jumped
crazy.
Up. Yeah, it's pretty crazy because they started slowing down as 80, 85, 90, and then I think they saw 100 was within range and they just had to go for it, so they just went straight to 100.
Well, I remember back when EverQuest got to 100. That was a while ago too, because they were going up 5 levels at a time each expansion.
Yeah. I think, they just hit 100 maybe 2 years ago or so.
It's crazy. All these MMOs, man, been out for so long, I feel so old.
I know. Are you going to come play Warlords of Draenor with me?
Yes.
Alright, I'll see you in Hearthstone.
Okay.
That's good enough. Alright, so why are you happy?
I'm happy because Hearthstone finally released a real expansion with a lot of cards. I've been waiting for this for a long time. To put it in comparison, Magic the Gathering releases 700 unique cards every year. Now, I understand a card in Magic is not as complex as a card in Hearthstone because I got to animate it and all of that, but still, 30 cards. The game's been out almost a year, or maybe over a year, including beta. I was kind of upset that they only had 30 cards. So I'm super happy that there's 120 new cards. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm equally excited. We're going to talk a lot about that, about why we're excited and why everyone else should be excited too, despite what they may initially think. I'm really cool. Did you? So let's talk about BlizzCon, right? Because that's where the announcement was made. It was just this past weekend. Did you watch the tournament at all?
I watched, I would say, about 85% of the tournament. I only missed the morning of the semifinals, but I basically watched the rest of it.
Okay, nice. So what was the best matchup? Are you prepared to make an assessment?
The best matchup, I think one of the better matchups was in the semifinals when it was D2 versus Firebat, the two American underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if you looked at, well, maybe not so much underdogs, but it was surprising to me anyways to see two Americans in the semifinals as 2 of the 4 slots.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. And it was a fun match. Both of those players played really well.
Very cool.
In my opinion, that felt like the finals to me.
Yeah, I actually heard a lot of people say that. After that match, everyone was like, "Ooh, is that basically going to be the finals?" And then the finals were, they were fine, but it was pretty one-sided. And
yeah, I mean, it was, well, I kind of think the finals after I forgot his name lost the first game. I forgot his name. See, nobody cares about second place. It's proof. I feel like he kind of let it get inside his head, and he just was and the second and third game, instead of digging in and trying to come back, he was just kind of oh, the cards are not, they're not falling my way. That's what it felt like anyways.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Yeah, it did seem like Firebat definitely got some draws right when he needed them.
He did. He did.
Yeah. But it was fun to watch. I really haven't played Druid very much. And after watching so many of those matches, clearly I need to be playing Druid more.
Yeah, Druid's good. Well, Druid's a good class because they have so much utility, right? Like, if you're playing in a tournament and you don't know what class they're going to pick, Druid's a good way to open it up because all of their cards have so many do this or do that. You know, gain 5 health or draw 2 cards. Silence or do 2 damage. So based on what you're playing against, you can kind of pick and choose, you know, what to do. And that's why Druid's really good. So that's why you saw a lot of the pros opening up with Druid.
Oh, but okay, yeah, because it's a safe.
Yeah,
And
it's
it
like
does-
no other class lets you do so much with one card. Like, do I want to do 1 damage with Wrath, or do I want to do 3 damage? You know, do I want to silence with Keeper of the Grove, or do I want to do 2 damage? It's just has so much utility.
Nice. All right, so a couple other things announced at BlizzCon worth mentioning. Spectator mode. I mean, it looks pretty full-featured. I'm fairly impressed. What did you think?
Spectator mode's cool and everything. I don't know. Like, what is spectator mode? My spectator mode is I just go and watch people on Twitch. You know? Like, I would have rather seen tournament mode.
Yeah.
Like, I want to play with you and 6 other people that we all know and start an arena. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Still, I'm excited for spectator mode. I think it'll be really cool for kind of the third-party tournaments. It just makes it a lot easier to set up the stage because they did a really good job for the BlizzCon tournament of showing both hands at the same time and both people without kind of a lot of awkward cutting. So I think spectator mode will help that. Hopefully, get more of the third-party tournaments, which we talked about a lot on our last episode. Help those just do better.
Yeah, it sounds like they're still trying to get tools in for people to run tournaments and help them, and that was probably the most requested feature was a spectator client. And not like, I don't think the players were asking for that so much, but they needed to do it so they can just kind of like let the machine do its thing and kind of sit back and watch everyone run Hearthstone tournaments.
Yeah, let esports community kind of start build up around itself.
Yeah.
And then hopefully get more features like that are direct to players.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the big announcement, the expansion set, which you brought up. What do you think of the theme, Goblins versus Gnomes?
Nah, I guess.
Really?
I mean,
Are you kidding me?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just too jaded. Like, I've played, you have to keep in mind, I played Magic for like 20 years. I've played Hearthstone. I've played a lot of fantasy card games. And, like, Goblins, I don't know. It's like, whatever. Like, I get excited by like slivers, right? Like something that's like, oh, what's a sliver? Oh, what's that? Oh, I want to know what this is. Like, everyone knows like what a goblin does. Everyone knows maybe that's why they did it, because everyone knows what a goblin and a gnome is.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea. Is you kind of immediately you get a sense of what the expansion's going to be about, and it's familiar for people that play WoW and stuff. And that's kind of the big draw for me, right? In World of Warcraft, I really like goblins. I love their sense of humor and kind of explosiveness. And I love engineering, just in general. Almost every single one of my characters has engineering as a profession because it's just so fun. It's quirky. It has all these cool toys.
And goblins are, I mean, if you're sticking with the theme of goblins, I mean, they should be pretty fast, right? Pretty fast and reckless.
Yeah.
And then gnomes are kind of like, they're kind of like engineers more, I guess. They kind of like try to make little machines and cause chaos.
Yeah, goblins try to solve like every problem by exploding it, and gnomes like try and solve it through some like crazy elaborate process that is like needlessly complex, and is just as likely to cause problems than anything. But
I guess it would have been better. It's better than like orcs and
that's because that's what he thought.
Or something.
Yeah,
or not gnomes, or orcs
and humans.
No, oh yeah, humans would have been pretty boring.
Yeah, it's just normal people like the merchant, the bread maker.
Wait, maybe you got something here. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think about it too much, like what I would have wanted, but I wasn't expecting goblins versus gnomes. Maybe I was expecting more of it to be like a theme, like I'm
underwater units or something.
No, like I'm so used to Magic's releases, like Urza Saga or like Zendikar, or like, you know what I mean? Like I thought it was gonna be like Naxxramas. Naxxramas totally was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, I expected that. I didn't expect them to be like goblins versus gnomes.
Yeah. So tell me the truth, Adam. No lying.
Okay.
How many times have you sung the Goblins versus Gnome theme song to yourself?
Zero.
What? Are you kidding me? It's like the catchiest song of all time.
To be honest, I didn't even listen to it. I don't even know what it sounds like.
What? How did you not watch the announcement?
No, I just went. I listened to BlizzCon keynote, right? His opening thing. The guy came out.
It was in that, dude.
It was?
Yeah, that's how he kicked it off.
I was working at the same time, so.
All right.
I just
It
was
goes,
like 120
Goblins
cards, cool.
and gnomes, goblins and gnomes, and it goes off forever. It's so good. Okay, I'm gonna send you a link after
All
this.
right,
You have
send
to
me a
watch it.
link
We'll
after
put a link in the show notes too, in case anyone else is ridiculous like Adam and has not seen it.
I'm
almost embarrassed that I invited you on this show now.
No, it's
that you
okay.
haven't seen that.
I cared more about the cards. Like, I went and read all of the cards and the cards that were released. That's what I cared about.
Okay, I guess there's some value in that.
A little
All
bit.
right. All right, so 120 new cards in the set. One of the big things that people brought up about the cards in the set, and was immediately apparent, is that there's a lot of random effects. And it kind of makes sense, right, for gnomes, because gnomish engineering is all about, hey, turn your enemy into a chicken. Oh, but it might accidentally turn you into a chicken, or it might turn you into a rock, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what happens. And goblins are all about, oh yeah, damage them, but also kill yourself at the same time. So randomness, it's kind of risky. And a lot of people got really upset about this. A lot of people were like, oh, I can't believe it. Competitive play is dead. Oh, esports is going to be ruined because all this Hearthstone, it's making it more casual. And I have to admit, I don't know. I love the random effects in the new set. Like, I thought they looked really cool. But I was kind of inclined to agree with them at first. Like, fans of the show know that I don't particularly enjoy random cards. I feel bad when I get screwed by them, you know, and I like to know what I'm getting. But I talked with Adam about it, and he shared this totally different perspective on random cards that really kind of made sense and got me thinking in a totally different way. So I knew I had to have him on the show just to share it with all of you. I think it's going to change the way you look at the new cards and hopefully help you appreciate them more like I definitely have and have more fun with the set once it's out. And of course, it's gonna make you be more happy, because that's what the Happy Hearthstone is all about.
Yeah, so like a lot of things. First, who's that guy that talks like that? Because I do the same thing too. I'm always like, oh, I didn't like it because there's so many random. Like, we always go to that voice. I want to meet that guy one day.
I don't know,
The guy that actually talks that way.
A super critical, pessimistic guy somewhere.
It's like the guy who gives every movie 2 thumbs down, no matter how good it is. But at first I was kind of upset. I was like, wow, this is kind of like a joke. Every single card that I'm reading says random. And then I was like, well, these are only the cards that they're showing us, right? They've only shown us, what would you say, like 30, 40 cards so far? So there's a ton of cards that we still don't know, or we still don't see. Then I started to like really think about it. And when you think about randomness, I think about, I don't know where to start. I guess I'll start. Where do you want me to start?
I'm gonna walk you through it. How about that?
Walk me through this, because there's a lot that I want to say on it, but I just don't know how to.
So first, I wanted to look at kind of why, as a game designer, if you're making Hearthstone cards, why you even want random effects on cards in the first place, just in general. Why have anything random? So I came up with these points here. What do you think of them?
Okay. What are the points?
Right here, buddy.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say them to me.
Oh, yeah. I'll say. All right, I'll bring them up.
Okay.
So I thought you would put random on cards because it adds diversity, right? It changes the game so that even if you have the exact same cards in your deck, something different will happen when you play. It adds an element of surprise, right? You can never really know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And adds, kind of a level of risk to it that, using that card, you no longer just have to think, okay, what's going to happen? And I know what's going to happen, but okay, what's the best case? What's the worst case? Am I willing to take that risk right now?
Those are all good points. I think the best point that you have there is surprise. I think you need to have randomness in your game because by nature, humans want to be surprised. I mean, that's why we, do what we do. That's why we venture out and explore. And I mean, just all the way back to first man. You do want to figure out you don't want to know what happens next, because if you knew what happened next, it would be boring. Just life would be over. But like, surprise is good in gaming because it just creates these tense moments of like, I mean, think about every time you draw your card. Like, you don't know what the card's going to be, and it's completely random. I mean, that's already the biggest RNG element. So you just kind of like draw the card, and you're surprised on what's going to happen. But I think that's the best reason why you want to have randomness in your game is the element of surprise.
Okay. But not all random cards are equal, right? There are degrees of randomness. And, I mean, I thought of, like, 2 different ways to look at random cards that kind of help you figure out how random it is, right? Like, how random is the effect, right? Because you can look at a card I'm totally blanking on the name. The Hunter one, destroy random enemy minion.
Oh, that's Deadly Shot.
Deadly Shot, thank you. Or a card, that destroy a random enemy minion with 3 or less power. The Stampeding Kodo.
Yeah.
And both those are random
power.
effects. Or 2 or less power, thank you. And both those are random effects, but one is much more easier to control than the other, right?
So let's look at these 2 cards. So both of them are random, right? And something that I want to say before I talk about all the randomness is that a really good player, a really top level player, will be able to control the randomness better than your average player. And what I mean by that is an average player will just play Deadly Shot on a board of 3 minions and just hope that he just gets the right minion, right? Just by a 33% chance. A skilled player will make sure that there's only 1 minion on the board, so his randomness is nulled, so there is no random. It's destroy the only minion that's left. Same thing with Stampeding Kodo. A really good player might not play the Stampeding Kodo if there's more than 1 creature with 2 power, because he doesn't want the 50-50. He wants the 100%, so he'll play the game, keep the card longer, keep the game going, and then play the Kodo when he knows for sure it's going to destroy it. And that's a way that really good players kind of take out the randomness out of the cards, and other players that lose to them just go, oh, he's getting so lucky. He's getting the cards when he needs them. He's destroying everything on my board. But it's not. It's he or she thought about that before.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the finals with Firebat when people were like, oh, he got Savage Roar. Oh, he's going to win. Oh, that's the perfect draw. But he had been holding on to all the other cards that he needed in case he got Savage Roar. Yeah. So that he could pull that off. So he was kind of waiting, stalling the game, buying the time that he needed, hoping that, or counting the odds eventually he would get that Savage Roar.
Yeah, the whole oh my god he top decked is always funny to me because, like, there was, like, 20 turns that happened before that turn, so there was a lot of things that needed to happen to get to that point of him top decking you, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of the most interesting part of kind of your philosophy that got me really interested in this, was how it's almost like a metagame where you're trying to create and manipulate the board state so that the random cards in your deck will have the highest effect. Like, it's like Inception, right? It's a whole nother game happening on top of what's actually happening on board control and stuff like that.
Yeah, and in the case of your degrees of randomness, there is good random and bad random, and I think, like, a really good random is when it happens in the beginning of the turn, and then you can adjust to it, or it happens before your turn ends. So, like, a really good random card for me is something like Mad Bomber, right? Because you can play Mad Bomber, you can see what it does. It doesn't cost a lot of mana, and then you can finish the rest of your turn after that. Like, if Mad Bomber plays and completely whiffs, well, you still can adjust to it. It would be really bad if it was, at the end of your turn, Mad Bomber deals 3 damage randomly, because you can't adjust. You just hit end turn, and then Mad Bomber does what he does, and you have no control over that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why, even though Ragnaros is really popular, because he's legendary, and he's big 8/8 and does big damage, he kind of has really crappy random, because at the end of the turn, that's when Ragnaros does his thing. And it's just like, oh, I guess I lost to Ragnaros, so there's nothing I can do about it. Or I lost because Ragnaros didn't hit the target I was hoping, because the player is relying on him to hit something, and if he doesn't, his turn's over.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there is kind of I mean, it's also worth looking at the variance of the effect, like best case versus worst case, right? Because with Ragnaros, you're dealing 8 damage to something. I mean,
Yeah, I mean that Ragnaros is really good because it's so powerful, right? But there's a lot of, I was just an example. Like, you kind of want your random in the beginning. Like, think of a board game. If a board game was, before we start playing, all of the pieces get shuffled up and then we play, that's kind of cool because you're like, oh, it's a different game every time we play. But if the board game was, at the end and the last 2 turns of the game, shuffle all the pieces up and then that's who wins, that's like bad random. You know, that's like a good example of it being bad because it's at the end of the game. You want the random in the beginning, not at the end. That's what I'm basically trying to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then, I mean, kind of along the same lines with the Ragnaros example, the example I came up with was, what if you had a card that was randomly deal 100 damage to your opponent or destroy all of their cards? Like, at that point, it doesn't even matter that it's random, right? Because you're happy with both outcomes. And I think there are a lot of cards that are random in that way, where you don't know what good thing is going to happen, but you know it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good example, because there's 2 different types of random like that. There's like, let's flip a coin, right? If it's heads, I have to give you $10, but if it's tails, I have to give you $3. And you're like, okay. I mean, I either get $10 or I get $3. No matter what, it's pretty good for me. But what if it was like, if it's heads, I give you $100. If it's tails, you're fired. Like, you know,
yeah,
like,
I would not.
That's kind of crappy random.
Yeah.
So those are the difference. So I think the cards that I've been reading that they're making, for the most part, have been pretty fair. Even though it says the word random and things that are happening are crazy, I think really good players are going to be able to figure out the best possible way to play them.
Yeah, so but we're going to go through examples as well. Actually, I've pulled up all the random cards that have been revealed so far. We're going to talk about them. Not in depth, but...
We should randomly talk about them, like not talk about them in order.
Randomize the order.
We should randomize the order.
Oh, man, getting meta. I want to get more into not just how... Because I believe this is your opinion. I just want to make sure. You don't necessarily even think that random cards are, you know, just as skill-based. But one thing you mentioned on Twitter was that you thought that adding more random cards would actually raise the skill cap of Hearthstone and separate even further the pro players from the rest of us.
Yeah, I think that the people who think that esports is over for Hearthstone and that competitive play is done for are completely wrong, 100%. Right now, if it stayed the way it was, Hearthstone would be dead. Because right now it is the same 5 decks on ladder, or even the same 3 decks if you get high enough, and they all have the exact same counters, and it's it is in a sense random. Now, if you look at the BlizzCon tournament, right? Mm-hmm. Congratulations to Firebat, he played really well. But I think if you ran that BlizzCon tournament 100 times, I think you would get 10% for each player, right, of winning the Hearthstone tournament, because the game is pretty random as it is right now, because the skill level is capped. It's very low right now when it comes to those people that were in that tournament. Now, if you take somebody, let's say, what's a good example? I think next year, at the BlizzCon tournament, the guy who wins first place, if you ran that BlizzCon tournament 100 times, I think that guy who wins first place next year would win 90% of the time. Because
wow.
I think they're just going to be, I think the skill level is going to be raised that high, because players are going to be able to take all of these different cards, and you're going to see a lot more big plays happening throughout the game, rather than, does he draw it? Oh, now everyone knows the play. It's going to be a lot of like the announcers going, oh, I think a good play would be this, and then something completely different happens, because the announcers aren't going to be nearly as good as the players that are playing.
Interesting. And you think a lot of that has to do with getting these more random cards in, or just getting more cards in general?
More cards in general, and the random cards too, because it's hard to explain, but they can think of so many different outcomes because they are so good that when they're thinking about their turn, and if you notice, they're thinking about the whole turn before they even start playing.
Yeah.
They're thinking, let's say if a guy has 3 random cards in his hand, he's thinking of like all of the scenarios of all of the different ways the randomness could screw him or could not screw him. And then as he plays each card, whatever the outcome is, he already knows the next move because he's thought it all through. He's already like, if I play this card and this is the randomness that I get, well, I know that I need to play this next. But if that doesn't happen, then I need to, it's just like they're thinking so many levels deep where we're just playing the card, waiting for the random effect to happen, and then assessing what happened after that. And the more skilled players are going to kind of separate themselves from the pack, even from the top of the pack that's there right now. I think you're going to see a completely different set of top players next year.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense, especially once you start getting into the idea of, okay, I have X number of random cards in my deck. What's the percentage that I'm going to draw each one? And then how will that influence how I play? Like, man, that is like so much calculations. And it reminds me almost of chess, right? Where in the first few moves of chess, you're thinking forward, 20 turns, and you're thinking, okay, if I do this, then he'll probably do this, and then this will happen, and then that, and like trying to plan out to the point where in like grandmasters of chess masters will resign like 20 moves in because they've both already foreseen what happens in the end or whatever.
That's kind of like what Hearthstone is right now.
Yeah,
because it's you're playing against a handlock and you're ramp druid, and the handlock plays 2 Molten Giants and a Sun Fury Protector and says go. You're kind of like, well, I lost. I've already know the next 10 turns. I basically lose from here.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to see less of that. And right now, the best players in Hearthstone, a big element is like they're really good and they have enough time to grind 1,000,000 games to get to the top.
Yeah.
Where I don't think that's going to be the case next year. I think it's going to be like, I'm really good and I got to the top because I won 30 games in a row because I'm really good. Not, I played 400 games and won 55% of them. Therefore, I made it to the top, right?
Yeah. Do you think there'll also be a bigger diversity in decks as well? So you'll be less kind of able to plan for, okay, it's handlock, I know exactly what to do. But you just see, oh, it's lock, but it could be one of any 10 variants. Like, I need to figure out.
They're still going to be like the top tier decks.
Okay.
But it's going to be more of like, oh, it's rogue. I don't know what rogue this is until turn 4 or 5. It's not going to be like, oh, it's druid. I know exactly what this deck is before he even plays a card. The only thing you have right now is warlock, where it's like, oh, it's warlock. Is it zoo or is it handlock? And then after he plays his first card, you're like, oh, okay, it's zoo.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be more of like when you play somebody who plays red, you're like, oh, he's playing red. Okay, that's all I know. I have no idea what deck he has.
Yeah, like you might have some vague sense, like if it's Hunter, okay, it's probably going to want to punch my face or something.
I mean, does it?
But
you never know.
Yeah, that's true.
It's going to be, so that means that the skilled players are going to be able to react a lot better during their turns, right?
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of it is matchups and did I mulligan correctly, and did I get the card starting hand, did I get the coin, and then it kind of plays out from there. There's still a lot of skill involved. I'm not saying there's not, but what I'm trying to say is these new cards are going to add a lot more skill to turns like 3 through 9.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about these new cards, right? Because I went through, I grabbed all the cards that have been revealed so far that have random elephants. Random elephants. I wouldn't put it past the gnomes. They would probably try and toss an elephant in some of this stuff. So I want to talk specifically about how you, Adam, would manipulate them, or what your goal is for manipulating the context to try and get the most value out of these random elements, and also to kind of support your argument for why you think this is going to increase the skill cap of the game. So I grouped them up into like 5 sections of similar effects. So I'm gonna read them out. The first 2, Blingtron 3000, a 5-cost 3/4. With a battle cry, equip a random weapon for each player. And then Ogre Warmaul, which is a 3-cost weapon, 4/2, 50% chance to attack the wrong enemy.
Nice. So here, let me start by saying this. When you have random in your deck, the random, theoretically, I mean, if you're a good player, the random is going to help your deck better than the random's going to help their deck. A good example of this is Priest versus Warrior. So in Control Warrior, they have cards like Shield Slam, where you need armor to deal any damage, right? Where Priest has a random card called Thought Steal, and you could get a Shield Slam, and then the Shield Slam doesn't do anything for you because you never have any armor. Right? So that's kind of like bad random. So good random is like this Blingtron. If you play Blingtron and you equip a random weapon, you probably have utility cards that make, no matter what weapon it is you get, even if it's the worst weapon in the game, you have utility cards to help boost that weapon, and they don't. So they're going to get a random weapon, and that's probably it. They're just going to be able to just attack with it. Where you're getting a random weapon, but no matter what random weapon you get, you're going to get cards that make it bigger, like Upgrade or whatever card that they haven't released yet. You know, they could have stuff like that. So that's how I would use Blingtron 3000.
Okay, so I had 2 ideas for Blingtron 3000. Was saving it. I mean, you get more value out of it if your enemy already has a weapon equipped, right? Because then you're basically just replacing their weapon rather than giving them a full weapon.
And that's good too, because they don't know you have it in your hand, and all of a sudden they play Gorehowl, and then you play this guy, and then they get screwed.
Yeah, and even better, man, if I was going to play this guy, or when I do play this guy, if I get him, I'm definitely running Harrison Jones. Because that combo, it would be so fun.
And Harrison Jones is 5, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good turn 10 combo.
Yeah, bam, bam, draw a ton of cards.
Yep. That's
cool.
See, now you're thinking
now Ogre Warmaul, I have to admit, I have no idea how to make this better. This seems insane.
50% chance to attack the wrong enemy. So this is like Deadly Shot, right? So you play Deadly Shot. If there's 2 minions on the board, your Deadly Shot has 50% chance to attack the wrong enemy. If there's only 1 thing on the board, then there's a 100% chance for it to attack the right enemy.
But the hero counts as an enemy.
Right. So if he has an empty board,
oh, I see.
then it hits the hero.
Okay, so you just have to clear the board entirely if you want to face punch.
Or if you're just like playing arena, clearing anything is good. Hitting him in the face would probably be the worst, but if he has a bunch of minions, clearing, you attack. It's 4 damage, so you attack on a board that doesn't have anything with 5 toughness, and no matter what it hits, it clears something, and you can assess like the situation after. This is a card that's a good example of good randomness, where the randomness happens at the beginning of the turn, and you can kind of figure it out afterwards.
Okay, interesting. All right, so the next category is basically minions and spells that deal damage randomly. So I'll go through these pretty quick. Bomb Lobber, a 5-cost 3/3, deal 4 damage to a random enemy minion. Matter Bomber, which first of all is hilarious. An upgraded Mad Bomber, which is the existing card. This is a 5-cost 5/4. Battlecry deals 6 damage randomly split between all other characters. Goblin Blast Mage, 4-cost 5/4. Battlecry, if you control a mech, deal 4 damage randomly split among enemy characters. Bouncing Blade, which, did you see the animation for this?
That Bouncing Blade, I didn't see the animation.
Dude, they showed it. They showed it at one of the panels. It's incredible. So it's basically
I didn't get to go to BlizzCon.
A buzzing. I didn't either. I watched the live
okay.
streams.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to go, which was depressing. Oh, I should have mentioned that actually. So, because I had said I was going to have an interview from BlizzCon on the show. The day before, I lost my pass to go. It's a long story, but yeah, I was not able to use it.
Basically, you lied.
I lied, but I have been talking with their community manager to try and get a phone interview.
They're going to reverse time and let you go to BlizzCon.
No, try and at least get a phone interview so I can get them on the show. Or I'm trying to sell them on the idea of having one of the devs come on here and do a deck battle episode with one of their decks, because I think that'd be really fun, just to see what decks they're playing for fun.
You got to get Ben Brode so he can laugh
the
whole time. That guy's the best.
He is,
dude. His laugh, and whenever he was on a live stream or during the tournament, his laugh was just like, I have no cares in the world. My game's the #1 game. Everyone loves it. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
It's just like it was just that laugh of how I would laugh like that if I won the lottery and then somebody just said anything to me.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, Adam.
Sir, you can't park there. And you're
yeah, and I'm just like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, man, his laugh is contagious too. Whenever he laughs, I feel compelled to start laughing.
I know, it's awesome.
All right, but Bouncing Blade. So a buzzsaw shows up, and it starts in the corner of the screen, and starts shooting around, bouncing, literally just hitting everything and bouncing off the sides of the screen and bounce until something dies. It just looks
awesome.
incredible. But this is a 3-cost spell. I believe it's Warrior. Deals 1 damage to a random minion. Repeat until a minion dies.
Dude,
And
that's so good with like, what's it called? The thing that, oh my
the
god,
cultist.
the
Acolyte of Pain.
Acolyte of Pain, yeah, Acolyte of Pain. You just like it's just bouncing around, dealing damage to your Acolyte of Pain. You're just drawing cards.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Armor Smith.
Armor Smith, Sen'jin Shieldmaster.
All right, so and then last one for the set, Flame Cannon, 2-cost spell, deal 4 damage to a random enemy minion. So I mean,
so that's 5 cards that have a lot of random.
yeah, and
right?
it's all. I mean, the one thing they brought up was they really liked dealing 4 damage, because they really wanted stuff to deal with like the stealth Goblin auctioneer, or Gadgetzan auctioneer.
Gadgetzan, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And it also, I mean, this is just a lot of damage. Like the Matter Bomber that deals 6 damage randomly.
Yeah.
If it's a pretty empty board, that's a lot of damage. You know, it's doing some work for sure.
Yeah.
The Goblin Blast Mage, that's control. If you control a mech, deal 4 damage randomly, split among enemy characters. Probably not the best card, but alone, it's a good card. 4 for a 5/4, like it's already pretty good.
Yeah, and it at least guarantees enemy characters, right? That's
it's not gonna hit your stuff. It's actually, that's true. It's gonna hit only their stuff.
Yeah,
so
I
actually,
mean,
that guy's pretty insane.
Yeah. So I mean, so what's the tactics here? Is it beyond something like, obviously you just remove the minions that you don't want this effect to hit, like their Acolyte of Pain or something like that? I mean, you trade your minions first, right? If they can be hit, just to make sure that you kind of reduce the chances because they may die anyways, or what's the ideas?
Well, there's kind of different. Each one, like Bomb Lobber is a 5 for a 3/3, and he deals 4 damage to a random enemy minion. I think the play here with all of these things is all of these bombers or all of these random goblins, everything here is pretty decent for the randomness, no matter what target it hits, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the play here is their casting cost is all pretty high, like 5, and like these 2 5 casting cost goblins. I would almost throw these in like a mage deck where you can get your cards to cost the first minion you play costs 1 less, right? So you can like kind of get these cards out earlier than turn 5.
Yeah.
That's not mage. Mage is the spell one. What's the card that costs the first minion you play costs 1 less?
Oh, that's the summoner, apprentice summoner.
Yeah,
or
something like that. Or imagine this in like Warlock with Summoning Portal, right?
Yeah.
The cards you play cost 3 less. I think that's the theme of Goblins, is you try to get them out early, and these Goblins all are pretty high casting costs. So it's going to be interesting. You can't get too mad. That's what I'm trying to say, is like you can't get too upset when these Goblins come out and they randomly hit their dudes, unless they hit the worst target and it doesn't kill it. But the good players are going to make sure that doesn't happen. They're going to make sure that the worst target's already dead before they play this card, or one of these cards.
Yeah. So if you were going to run stuff like Bouncing Blade and Matter Bomber, do you need to run cards that benefit from Acolyte of Pain, or do you just rely on being able to control the board state?
I think Matter Bomber is going to be like a bigger arena card than a constructed card, unless I'm undervaluing how insane 6 damage is randomly. But like, you don't see Mad Bomber in constructed play, you know, you just see him in arena play. But in arena, he's really good. Whereas Bouncing Blade, I think that's going to go directly in the big warrior decks. Like whatever the top warrior deck is, I'm sure that'll be in there, because there already is so much utility going for it with the cards that are in like the control warrior deck right now. You know, I think warriors will be able to utilize this card a lot more than where it's not going to, even though it's strictly random, it's going to work in their favor. So like if it's Acolyte of Pain is out and you just played a like what's the cultist that's a 3/4 for priest?
Oh, the Dark Cultist.
Dark Cultist, right? Let's say you play Dark Cultist and I played Acolyte of Pain. Well, on my next turn, I'm going to play Bouncing Blade because it's going to bounce off your Cultist and my Acolyte of Pain 3 times. And then my Acolyte of Pain is going to die. I'm going to draw 3 cards, and your Dark Cultist is going to be a 3/1. Like, that's a pretty good turn.
Yeah.
So, that's, I think that's what's going to happen with this Bouncing Blade is the really good players are going to use it in ways to where it just really helps them. It's not just going to be random where they play it and it kills, a angry chicken, and then, oh, well, that card sucks.
Yeah. So, okay, so it's you don't even necessarily have to pair it up with specific cards, but like, so if you, on turn 5, if you had Matter Bomber or whatever in your hand, and only you had minions on the boards, you'd just hold on to them, right?
Oh, yeah, you don't play it. Like, so you do that with Mad Bomber right now. If it's turn 5 and I have 3 creatures or 3 minions on the board and they have 0 minions, I would hope I have better play than playing Matter Bomber.
Yeah.
Right? If I don't, I can at least attack with my minions first, then play Matter Bomber, so if one of them dies, I at least attacked with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Very cool. So let's talk about another category here, which I just noticed, because I separated these by themes, but they're actually separated by Goblins and Gnomes.
Okay.
Which means they probably hit their theme mark pretty well, because
Nice.
without even noticing that. So this is the ones that are about transforming minions, basically, or drawing minions. Gnomish Experimenter, a 3-cost 3/2, which is always, solid stats. Battlecry, draw a card. If it's a minion, transform it into a chicken. Recombobulator is a 2-cost 3/2 again. This one has Battlecry, transform a friendly minion into a random minion with the same cost. And then Unstable Portal is a spell. Add a random minion to your hand. It costs 3 less. Oh, and the spell costs 2. So you're getting a 1 mana value out of it. What do you think?
So, cards like Gnomish Experimenter, the 3/2 for 3, draw a card if it's a minion, transform it into a chicken, excite me so much about the game because we're going to start seeing amazing decks. Like, really awesome, amazing decks. And I think the top 2 Hearthstone decks, in my opinion, in terms of, wow, that's a really amazing, well thought out, totally synergized, hard to play deck, is Handlock and the hyped Freeze Mage. The one with duplicates and giants, and it's funny both of them have giants, but I think it's because they synergize so well together. They're really hard to play. You can't just give it to a new player and tell them what to do. They have to really figure out how to play the deck. It's just, they're so exciting to me. I just love those types of decks. And Gnomish Experimenter, like, what if it's the only minion in your deck? Like, what if your deck is 28 spells and weapons and stuff, and only 2 Gnomish Experimenters? So no matter what, you draw a card, and it's a card that it's good, unless you're so unlucky that it's the other Gnomish Experimenter that you draw.
Yeah.
So that just becomes a utility card. That just becomes a cycling card, but it's also a minion. So you basically just get a 3/2 minion, and it cycles a card for you.
Yeah, which is insane value.
I mean, that's an extreme example, but I think we're going to start seeing, they've probably made other cards that they haven't shown us yet that are going to make it so there aren't just, there are a ton of possibilities to make a bunch of different decks, and I can't wait.
Yeah, so I saw some people talking about Gnomish Experimenter online, and I think they were wrong, but I want to run it by you just to see what you think. They were complaining that, that the draw card, transform it into a chicken, is like, oh, well, it could destroy a card that you really wanted or really needed, turning it into a chicken. But the way I kind of look at it is you have no clue where that card is in your deck. Like, the card that you really wanted could have just as likely have been on the very bottom of your deck. It doesn't seem like it actually hurts anything unless you actually go through your entire deck, right?
Yeah, I mean, and going through your entire deck at that point, maybe you've made some mistakes along the way. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's not the game's fault that it got to that point. But
are you concerned that that card could potentially pull your Sylvanas and turn it into a chicken and kind of ruin your deck, quote unquote?
well, I mean, at that point you just wouldn't play it because you would know the last card in your deck. Like, the really good players know what card they haven't drawn. You can right now go to some of these pros, have them draw 29 cards, and 10 out of 10 times they'll tell you what the last card is, because
Okay.
they just know. Like, I've done it a couple times, but I'll sit there and be like, okay, I have 2 cards left. What are they? And you just think about it for a little bit, and you're like, okay, it's 1 Circle of Healing and Ragnaros. Oh shit, I haven't played Ragnaros yet. So you just kind of have to mentally keep in mind, what cards you've played.
Okay, so that wouldn't scare you away from this card, that potentially, even if it wasn't your last cards, right, but even if it was the very first menu you played, it could take your Sylvanas and destroy it. That doesn't turn you off from it.
Well, that's a bad play. Like, that's a terrible play. I wouldn't play this on turn 3, right? That's not why you play this card. You don't play this on turn 3 if your deck is full of legendary cards that it can screw over. You build your deck around this card, so when you play it, no matter what turn it is, you know that there's a great chance that it's not going to screw you over.
Okay, interesting. And then what about transforming a friendly minion into a random minion with the same cost?
That's kind of fun. I don't, that seems like an arena card to me. Maybe something, I can't think of something off the top of my head, but maybe somebody will think of a deck that makes this really awesome, but I think that's just a fun card.
Yeah, one thing they mentioned on the panel when they revealed this was comboing it with Battle Cry minions. So you play a minion whose primary effect is its Battle Cry, right? And then you transform it into a different minion with the same cost that in theory should have higher stats because the other one invested so much into its Battle Cry.
Yeah, that's a good play. Or what if you play, so it's the same cost, it's not even the same power, toughness, or attack, and
not even
health.
the same quality. I mean, you could,
It's just same
theory,
cost. So
yeah.
like, you could transform a 2 casting cost Hungry Crab into a Nat Pagel.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, so
I mean, like, if you, this card's really good.
yeah, because you could.
This card is really, really good. So the reason why is it's like, you could also have an 8/8 druid thing. What's the druid thing that's 8/8? Ironbark Protector.
Yeah.
You could have an 8/8 Ironbark Protector, kill, like, over 2 turns 2 of their minions, and now you have an 8/1, and then you play this guy, and it turns your 8/1 into a Ragnaros.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's like it could be a heal, it could be all sorts of stuff, and of course, every now and then you will get a minion that's quote unquote bad, but I think if you get any 8-cost minion, it's going to be better than an 8/1, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or even if you have a 3-cost minion, as long as you've used the 3-cost minion to take out one of their cards, you're basically getting another free card with full health.
Yeah. And this is one of the cases where it's like there's no bad outcome card. Like we said look at the why am I telling worst case versus best case, right?
Mm-hmm.
The worst case isn't bad.
Hey, you
like,
still get a minion with full health.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
there are bad minions, but I mean,
yeah.
the worst case isn't. It's one of those things where if I flip a coin, it could be $10, but if I lose, it could be $3, right?
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
you're still getting, $3.
Yeah, I'm really excited about him. All right, last card
Imagine,
here.
imagine this guy with Reincarnate.
Oh my word! Yeah.
Wait, does Reincarnate do Battle Cry? It doesn't. Actually,
Oh no,
never
it doesn't.
mind.
No,
It
you're
doesn't.
right.
This guy would have to be. You know what? Maybe someone will actually play Kidnapper now. The rogue card that bounces.
Yeah,
the card
bounce a
back to your
friendly
hand.
to your hand. Yeah. Boom. Oh man. And then you could transform the Kidnapper with this guy, get something even better.
Dude, combos.
What? All right. Last card in this set, the Unstable Portal. 2 cost. Add a random add a random minion to your hand. It costs 3 less. What do you think?
This one, I don't know. This one's pretty random because this one's like, I don't know. I guess it could, because it's a mage card, right?
Yeah.
So
But it's just
random. This one's too random. This one's like, this is the first case where I think players can just be a little bit upset. But it's like, can you really be that upset? There has to be some cards that are bad. There can't be like all good cards.
yeah.
Because this one's so random. It's any minion in the whole game, and as they make more cards, it's just going to get more random. So it's like you just, there's no stopping this card. You're just eventually 2-3 years from now, you're going to play this card, and you could get, you know, who knows. That's a little bit harder to play around as a good player. Like even the best players can't play around this card. They're just going to like lose to this card sometimes. Where a bad player is going to play this card against them. The bad player is going to get a King Crush, or not a King Crush. Yeah, I guess so. The bad player is just going to get a King Crush and then play it for the win and kill them.
Yeah,
but like that's exciting for the bad player, right? I mean, there's we could do a whole nother podcast on like the reasons why you need bad cards.
Yeah,
like players that are bad, or not even bad cards. You need like bad players to be able to win. That's what I meant to say. Like, bad players need to be able to win, otherwise nobody's going to play your game because most players are not pros, you know?
Yeah.
So this is going to be one of those cards where if you're not very good at Hearthstone, this card's going to win you some games. The other player is going to be very salty and upset, but you're going to feel like a champion. But that's good. That's the way they made this card.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it, when you were talking about the Gnomish Experimenter, right, the other one, draw a card if it's a minion, transform it into a chicken, you described the sort of deck that you want to play this card in. Like, you don't put it in every deck, but, you know, in the spell-heavy deck where you can make it work, okay. But there's never a deck, really, that's all about randomness. And that feels like that's what the Unstable Portal does. It just adds more random to your deck. And there's never a deck where you're like, you know what? I need a random minion in this deck. Because you just...
Yeah, this card is like arena all the way, where it's just really fun. Like I would draft this card just because it's fun to play.
Just to see what happens. Yeah,
you never know. Like there's always that great chance, you know, where you're looking at the board and you're like, there's no way I can win this next turn, and then you draw Unstable Portal, and you're like, well, I could get Alexstrasza, and then you play it, and then you get Alexstrasza, and then you play Alexstrasza, and it helps you win. You know, it's just like things like that. But that's not going to fly in Constructed. In Constructed, you're gonna play this, get your minion, and they're still going to be like, you know, they're a way to deal with it.
Yeah, you'll get your hungry crab, and they'll laugh, and then he'll cry.
They'll say, sorry about that.
Oops.
Yeah.
All right, last set here, Sweet Robots, which I'm super excited about. Just in theme, I love robots.
I love the art on these robots.
Yeah, me too. They're so cool. They all look like the Goblin shredders from World of Warcraft.
They're like kind of ironic with how big their heads are.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
Goblins compensating. Can you say?
Maybe.
All right, so the three cards are Piloted Shredder, which is a 4-cost 4/3, Death Rattle, summon a random 2-cost minion, then a 6-cost Piloted Sky Golem, 6/4, summon a random 4-cost minion, and the 8-cost version gives you a 5/7 with a Death Rattle, summon a random legendary minion.
Like this is like flipping a two-headed, like a double-headed coin, right? Yeah. You're like, I could be tricking you and be like, okay, if it gets heads, I win, right? And then you don't know that both sides are heads. That's what these three cards are. There's like, even though it's random, you're getting a good thing no matter what.
Yeah, because let's look at like the Piloted Shredder, right? The most base example. It is a 4-cost 4/3.
God, that's going to be in every deck.
And you get a random 2-cost minion, which, you know, could right, the normal stats for a 2-cost is what, like a 3/2?
Yeah.
So you're getting, you know, there's randomness in there, but that's the equivalent of a 7/5 for 4 mana, which is just
yeah, and a 2-cost minion, there's a lot of good 2-cost minions. You could get Nat Pagle, you could get Blood Mage Thalnos, you could get the 0/4 Shield Bearer, which could save you a turn. Yeah. I mean, that like
the Pint-Sized Summoner is also a 2-cost.
Yeah, there's a ton of 2-cost awesome cards. Oh wait, no, the Shield Bearer costs 1. Scratch that. Never mind.
All right, so
basically, there's a lot of good 2-cost minions.
Okay, so there's not really a way to play around this, right? I mean, other than just you don't want to play it when they're gonna silence. Sorry, I mean, if you have this card in your hand, You're not like making special exceptions or trying to create a board state to get the most out of the
No,
randomness.
you're playing these cards on curve every time.
Okay, just
Like
for pure
4,
value.
Turn 4, player Shredder. Turn 6, player Sky Golem. Turn 8, player Shredder.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, you got to have a really good play to not play one of these guys. This is like when you see the pros, they don't really have a play, they don't know what to do, and they just throw out Sylvanas. Because Sylvanas is so good that like it makes the other person have to deal with it because the death rattle is just so good. So this is kind of like that. Like the Sky Golem, turn 6, I'm playing that every time. Because if they don't deal with it, I get a massive 6/4 and another creature because I'm probably going to throw it into one of yours to kill it. This card would have been worse as a 6/6 because it's harder to kill itself as a 6/6, but it's a 6/4. Like that card's really good.
Yeah, so you trade it with, you know, whatever their
big creature is.
Yeah, and then you get a Chillwind Yeti or whatever that drops down.
You get up.
So we've talked in the past when Scott was on the show about kind of evaluating card value and comparing stats. Like, can you imagine getting a Chillwind Yeti on top of this piloted Sky Golem? That is a 10/9 for 6 mana on 2 bodies, which is arguably better to have it split between 2 bodies.
That's
like
really
that.
good value. I mean, the Harvest Golems are sad. They're very envious of these guys.
They totally are. Piloted Sky Golem is like flying overhead as the Harvest Golem's like picking at wheat or whatever it is they're doing down there.
They're just like, oh man, when do I get to fly the Sky Golem?
I'm gonna be a piloted Sky Golem when I grow up. Like,
Yeah.
No, you'll never leave the farm. Stop dreaming.
See, Sneed's old Shredder, it's okay.
Yeah, that's just okay, right? Because there's no guarantee of cost, so you really don't know what value you're gonna get out of it.
I think it's because no matter what, I mean, no, I guess there are some really bad legendaries.
Yeah, you could get one of the class legendaries, you know, that just is very specific. Where it's like if you get Van Cleef or something, you may not have the cards to make that actually effective.
Well, Van Cleef, yeah, it's just a 3/3 or 2/2.
2/2. Oh yeah,
nothing.
Because it's not even in your hand. Yeah, it goes on the board. Like, so there's more whiffs there.
I think, Sneed's old Shredder. But what if you kill? What if it dies and then it summons another Sneed's old Shredder? Value.
Oh my gosh, 2/5.
And you have a Kel'Thuzad in play, so it doesn't matter. So he comes back, so you have 2 Sneed's old Shredders.
Oh my gosh, imagine any of these with a Kel'Thuzad in play.
Oh yeah, imagine if Sneed's old Shredder
reincarnate
gets a Kel'Thuzad.
Oh my gosh, Kel'Thuzad, reincarnate. These are.
Dude, we should go pro. Let's quit our jobs.
Let's do it. I'm sure no one else will think of this. We got it.
We can't air this now.
All right, so I've got a couple questions from the community, but before we get into that, do you want to give any kind of final thoughts on why all this randomness is good and people should not be as scared as they seem to be?
I wouldn't freak out. I think freaking out over the randomness from A, you don't know all the cards. B, you haven't played it with any of the cards. I mean, it's very backseat gaming, the people that are very upset about all the random right now. So just kind of let the cards come out. Let the top level players kind of figure out the really good decks and watch them kind of as they figure it out. One of my favorite things now, which is kind of weird, I don't like playing the set right when it comes out as much as I like actually watching a really good player play the set. Like, I played Naxxramas, but I had way more fun watching Reynad play Naxxramas because he was like, you could see his wheels turning the whole time, and he's like, whoa, okay, let me make this deck, and he was just like all these crazy ideas that I could never think of. So when these cards come out, I highly suggest picking your favorite pro streamer, watching them on Twitch, watching them play these new cards, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I haven't done that with the new release, and obviously Nax was the only one.
Who is your favorite pro streamer, Josh? Or not pro, I should not say pro, I should just say popular. Who's your favorite, most popular streamer?
I don't actually watch many streamers, to be honest.
You have to start.
That's why.
There's a lot of good
our
ones.
last episode was all about pro streamers and non-pro streamers, just popular streamers that Eleanor came on and talked with us about. And I have the list there that I need to go through and start watching. But honestly, I just don't watch much like streaming in general. I have so little time to game that I don't know. I'd rather just be playing.
Yeah. That's fair. That's a fair answer.
But I do think, and especially with Hearthstone, when the 120 cards come out, I'm going to need additional insight to figure out which one of these are good and which ones are worth my
Yeah.
time and that sort of stuff. So I'll definitely watch the streams then, because I want to see which cards they're latching onto and how they play them. And stuff like the Gnomish Experimenter, how are they getting the most value out of that card? Because I'm
Yeah,
sure they're going to
I-
think of stuff that we didn't.
I highly suggest it. It's a lot of fun. Set some time out at night when the set comes out. Watch some of the streamers, because it's going to be crazy on Twitch. They're all going to be streaming, and just
Yeah.
kind of watch how they play. You know, it's going to be a lot of fun, because I don't know how they're going to release the 120 cards. Have they said that?
Yeah, I mean they're coming in packs that you buy in the store, so they'll just be a separate pack.
So that's
in the
fun
store
too,
that you
because
can
they're going to
buy.
be opening
Yeah.
a bunch of packs.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, and boom, the legendary rolls around and Sneed's old shredder, and people freak out. Yeah, actually, one of our first questions is Matt asked, how will expansion booster packs work, and will the arena include both card sets? So they're going to have Gnome versus Goblin packs in the store alongside the original packs that you can buy, so you can buy either one. And
That just
arena-
sounds like how they'll do it for the next 10 sets too.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah,
just
it's
buy
like-
whatever pack from whatever set you want.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if eventually they do like a Disney Vault kind of thing, where like, oh, Goblins versus Gnomes is going back into the vault for a while, buy it while you can, and then, rotate through them.
Yeah, they have such a gold mine. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They have content for like the next 20 years.
Yeah, man, and I'm excited to see all the cool cards that they come up
I
with
know,
in 20
I know.
years. So the other part of his question was, will Arena include both card sets? They said no. Once the expansion comes out, Arena will exclusively give Gnome versus Goblin packs. But of course, you'll get gold and stuff that you can spend on whatever you like.
Yeah, basically what they're doing here is they're archiving the old set. So if you want the old set, you gotta buy it. You gotta buy it now.
Yeah.
You can only win the new set. And so when the next set comes out, Orcs versus Humans, whatever it's called, they'll do the same thing with this set, where you'll only get Orcs versus Humans from Arena, and then they archive it, so you have to pay for Goblins versus Gnomes for the people that they know are out there that need to collect every card. And they're like, wait, I can't.
I missed it.
I missed it. I must buy them now.
Yeah, I'm calling it now, Adam. Orcs versus Humans, it's going to have Bread Maker as a legendary card. It's going to make different types of bread with
No
his battle
way.
cry effects.
If they ever do Orcs versus Humans, they better have the Innkeeper. I guess the Innkeeper's a dwarf.
Yeah.
I want the Innkeeper to be a card.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'm sure they will eventually.
Yeah.
What if it's like...
What was the card for BlizzCon? Remember last year it was Elite Torn Chieftain?
I don't know. Actually, I should have gotten it.
Did they not have one this year? Did they only have a card back?
Man, yeah. I think it is just the card back, because I saw that announced. I didn't see any mention of a card.
Jeez. That's it. Let's stop playing this game.
Yeah. Because Elite Torn Chieftain is still so fun to throw down.
It's fun. I still need to craft him. I didn't get the cool golden one because I didn't go to BlizzCon last year either. Because somebody doesn't invite me to these cool things.
Well, hey, you can
I
buy a
won't
ticket
mention
just like
names.
everybody else, buddy.
I got in this industry so I don't have to buy tickets anymore.
That's why. You don't actually enjoy making games.
No.
You just hate buying tickets.
Yes, that's
Perfect.
why I got into this industry so I could get into E3. That's
This is
it.
how all great games are made.
Yep.
All right, so one more question from Bert. He says, do you like the idea, so this is for you, Adam, of a minion with a random, within some range, amount of plus spell damage on it?
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think a good one off the top of my head would be like, summon this minion, it randomly gets spell damage, from like 1 to 3. I think would be good. I think.
So, but you'd want it to be fixed once it's summoned, not it has random 1 through 3 that it applies each time you cast a spell.
Is that what they're saying?
Well, I don't know.
I
That's
think-
how
I
I
think-
interpret it. Was like it would say on it like spell damage 1 through 3 or whatever, so that every time you cast a spell, you're not quite sure what it's gonna do.
Oh, that would be crazy. What if it was, if this minion's in play, each time you cast a spell, it's random how much damage it does.
Oh my word!
Like
just completely flat out random.
so you could play a lightning storm and it could be for 1. And it just does 1 damage to everything. Or you could play a lightning storm and it does like 6. I guess it has to be a fixed amount, because otherwise it could get too crazy. It's like
I could
lightning
see
storm
that.
for 30.
I could see that being interesting, especially if it affected everyone's spells. So you run kind of a spell light deck, but then throw that down.
What if it's a legendary that's all spells are random? All spell damage is random.
Wow. So you could Lightning Storm and get like a 1, a 20, a 5, a 6.
Yeah.
Wow.
They
That's
could
living on the edge right there.
You could cast a Frostbolt and get like 9. Right? But it could be your Frostbolt or theirs. Who knows? That'd be fun. What would be funny is if you're trying to kill it and you can't because all the spell damage is random. So let's say he's like a 3/3 and you are like trying to Frostbolt it and you deal 1 damage to it. And then you like try to Fireball it and it deals 1 damage to it.
Oh my gosh. I can just picture the rage now.
I love this card already.
Alright. This hypothetical card. So Bert, we love your idea.
Yes.
Alright,
good card.
iTunes reviews. There were none. I know I abandoned you guys for a while, but there were 0 iTunes reviews. That hasn't happened.
Last time I was on this show, there were like 10. Did you make them all up?
No. You probably came on the show after maybe we had a break or something, or it might have been after our big card review episode or something, so we had a lot. But yeah, this is just depressing.
This is what happened. I came on the show. They're like, I have all the knowledge I need. I don't need to listen to the show anymore.
Well, they should at least leave a review on their way out. Like, I am complete. I am a whole person now. Goodbye
be a good
forever.
Review. That would somebody please write that review.
Yeah. So please write a review on iTunes. It's how we get more viewer or listeners to the show. iTunes lists the podcast based on how many reviews they have and how high the review is. So when people go to iTunes and search for Hearthstone podcast, that's how they find us instead of any of the other podcasts that are out there, which are also great. But we want them to find us because we are us.
And how is Josh going to get awesome devs on the show if he has no reviews? He can't.
That's true.
He has to go to like Ben Brode and be like, "Hey, I have a podcast that has 50 iTunes reviews." He'll be like, "Oh my God, I'm there."
I'm there.
If the next time Josh asks me to be on this show, if he doesn't have iTunes reviews, I'm not going to do the show. So.
Well, don't say that. What if they don't like you?
Oh, I just screwed myself.
No, you just screwed me, buddy.
Oh, I think I just screwed both of us at the same time.
Yeah, wow. You really Britted that, buddy.
That was epic. All right.
All right, so let's jump into card of the week.
To be fair, if they didn't like me, they would have turned it off by now.
That's true. They wouldn't have been listening.
Yeah. So if they listened to...
Nobody can turn off the episode before card of the week. That is an empirical fact that has been proven by many case studies. So let's talk about it. This week it's another spoiler. Velen's Chosen. It's the priest spell with no random effects. What? And I will actually point out real fast before we jump into that. When I was grabbing all the random cards for the set, I was actually amazed at how many non-random cards have been spoiled as well. I think they went back and since then they've spoiled a lot of non-random cards because only maybe like a third of the cards spoiled so far.
And that was probably like a snap decision from like community and PR and marketing.
Yeah,
they're like everyone's mad at us, and then the devs are like, they don't understand, and they're like, we have to do something. And they're like, fine.
Here, we were planning to save these cards, but
fine, show them this.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's a ton of non-random cards. I'll include a link to all the spoilers out there as well. Blizzard's also doing this cool thing right now where you get to vote on which card is spoiled next based on artwork. They show you the 2 artworks and you vote like via Twitter or something, and then
it's so funny, like Hearthstone's so young and Magic's so old. It's like Hearthstone is like doing all these fun little games for each individual card, where like Magic's like, here's the spoiler list. Here's the next set that's coming out.
Here's everything. We stopped caring.
350 cards all at once. There you go.
Yeah, and every now and then they'll give like a card to a site or something like that. But this is like, hey, everybody, let's get involved. Let's have a fun time. Like, I really love it. Like, and even like they have a special page on their site just for this voting thing, and it shows you the results in real time. Like, I love it.
It's so funny. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. It's funny to me because eventually all the cards are going to be spoiled before the set comes out, and I mean it's
what
just
what if they keep like one legendary card completely hidden the whole time?
That would be more.
Oh, here
fun
you go.
For me,
it's a card that you can't even get, but it's a card that can only be summoned by unstable portal, and it's like super powerful.
That would be cool. That's cool to me.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, the real card we're actually talking about is Velen's Chosen. It's a 3-cost spell. It says give a minion +2/+4 and spell damage +1. Now, I heard someone complaining that this is just flat out better than Blessing of Kings. This is a smack in the face to paladins. I don't think
Is
that's
this a paladin
actually,
card?
No, it's a priest card.
Oh, okay.
So they were just complaining like, oh, priest got a better card than my card. I don't think that's actually true because this is 2/4 instead of 4/4. You know.
Last I heard, 4 is better than 2.
That is a fact. I
And
think
if
we
they're
can
at-
prove that now.
And if
We
they're
have-
at 4 health, if you need 4 damage to do lethal, and you play this card, it's not going to do lethal. It's only going to do 2 damage. So Blessing of Kings probably still better in a lot of situations.
Yeah. So, but I
Don't
really
feed
like
the trolls, Josh.
I'm sorry. Well, I just want to bring it up so you could smack them down and destroy
Okay.
their false claims.
Okay.
I am really intrigued by a spell that gives spell power. I mean, we have the scholar guy or whatever that kind of adds spell power to stuff next to him, but no one really plays it.
Yeah, he seems like he's kind of a dud, I guess.
Yeah, this card actually looks extremely playable and kind of adds a lot of dynamics because there's not really any spell power run in priest decks.
And you never know, that guy might be good after these 120 cards come out.
That's true. Yeah. So
this card, I think, okay, so this is like, I think this card's really good.
Yeah.
And this card's kind of like an enchant creature for all you Magic players out there. And what an enchant creature in Magic is you take the card, you put it on the creature, and then it gives whatever that text is to that creature. So this is kind of like that, right? You're kind of like casting a spell onto a minion, and it's kind of making that minion better. And it's pretty good. Anytime you get 2 positives out of one card, it's pretty good value. You know, it's not just +2/+4. You're getting +2/+4 and +1 spell damage. So you might not even need one or the other, right? You might just do it just for the spell damage because that's what helps you for your turn that turn, or you could use it for the +2/+4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a solid card. I wouldn't run like 5 of them in an arena deck or anything, but I would take one of them in an arena deck.
Yeah, I'm excited because I really like. I think spell power has a lot of potential with priest for stuff like Holy Nova, but it doesn't have enough potential that you replace your high health minions with Kobold Geomancers because it's just not that valuable. Whereas this gives you what priests want, which is health and attack. But it also throws in spell power as like a bonus. Like, oh yeah, and have fun with Holy Nova. Like, all right, I'm excited.
And there's also so many things you can do with plus to health, or I mean plus to attack. In Hearthstone, like, let's say you want to give your 2 attack creature +2 so their priest doesn't Cabal Shadow Priest it. Or let's say you want to give their 5/5 +2 so you can Big Game Hunter it. You know, like, there's a lot of things that you can do. Like, there's more to this card than just giving one of your creatures both effects because you need both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, so I'm excited about this. Should be really fun. I'm glad you're excited about it too.
Of course. I was actually really down on Hearthstone for a month. The whole last month I didn't really play at all.
Oh, wait, what got you so down?
I was really mad at them. I was really upset that there wasn't cards.
Okay.
I'm not even joking. I was like,
stale?
It was just getting really stale, and it was like my favorite. This is like my favorite game, and it got to the point where I was like, it's not fun anymore. I need more cards. Like, I'm playing. It's like I'm eating the same food every night. You know.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. That's all it was. And I was just kind of like, the 30 Naxxramas cards was like appetizer. It was like just enough to keep me going for a little bit.
Yeah.
And
just
I was
enough
like,
to show you how much the game could change, right? Because the game changed a ton with just those 30 cards, and now it's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get 120. Like, things are gonna get cray cray.
And you know what's funny to me is I bet they made all 150 cards at the same time.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, this is a wild claim. Don't take it with a grain of salt, but I could see them making all 150 at once. Them realizing that the players needed something. Them then taking 30 of the cards, making an expansion out of it, releasing it to give them time to make the rest of these cards.
Okay. But there was so much like Naxxramas flavor to those cards.
Sure. I mean, you can create a bunch of flavor.
Okay.
You can. I mean, what is the flavor other than just taking all the spiders that they made?
Tons of death rattle cards.
But there's a lot of death rattle in here too.
That's true.
I don't.
You got all
It's
those
just
sky golems, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they they could have had it all in mind too. They could have been like, okay, we're making all 150 cards. The first 30 are going to be for Renax Ramus. It could have all been pre-planned too. But I just think like it's so weird. 120 is such a weird number to me. 150, if you count the Naxxramas cards, 150 just seems like a. How many cards should we make, guys? Let's make 150. You know, let's just make them all, and I don't know.
Conspiracy theorist right here, Adam.
Right here.
You heard it here. Blizzard was holding out on us.
No,
you shouldn't
they
be angry
didn't.
about random, but get angry about this.
No, they didn't though, because they could have held out.
Oh, all
And
150. That's true.
All 150, but it kind of worked out better for them to just release 30. Whatever.
I want to believe
I
that,
don't
like,
even know what I'm saying anymore. I just
Ben
thought it would
Brode
be
was
fun.
listening to the show, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, these guys are pretty cool. I will come on like they said. And then right then, he's like,
Oh, God.
nope, I'm out.
I said it was a wild claim. I'm just saying I would not be surprised if that's what happened.
All right, let's go ahead and close out the show. So we're going to have full show notes along with links to all the spoilers and cards that we talked about today on GameDiplomat.com. Just go over there, swing by, click on Hearthstone at the top. You'll see all the cool stuff. We'll also have an outline kind of Adam's theory on random cards and why we don't have to be scared of them. So if you run into Reddit and you see the people raging and you get scared or upset again and you're like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be happy, but I don't remember why. We'll have it right there. You can go and Adam will reassure you in real time. Adam, maybe we can do some sort of like video that we just play where you're like, it's okay, friends. Let me tell you why it's okay. And
Just be. It's okay, guys. It's really. You should be really excited that there's more cards coming out. Like at the end of the day, this is still my favorite game, and I only stopped playing it because there weren't cards. I'm gonna go right back to it as soon as the cards come out.
Yeah, I think most people are really excited. It's just the vocal minority that are shouting in every single.
It's
Reddit
the
thread
people
and
that
all
are still
yeah.
playing it every day because they are just addicted, right? They just can't not play it, so they're forcing themselves to play bad experiences and getting upset about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to stop playing the game for a little while and kind of step back, play different games, and then come back, and you're like, oh, this game's fun again. You know?
There you go. Life
Like,
lessons. From
That's
Adam
why,
Flagg.
dude. That's why I should play Warlords of Draenor with you.
Yeah. Oh, boom.
Because I
You
haven't
made
played,
my argument for me. I love
dude,
it.
I haven't played WoW since Cataclysm.
Dude, all right. So I've got a couple friends, and we're all going to be leveling up together. If you pre-ordered the expansion, there's still 2 days' time. You get a free level 90 character, and then we can play together.
That's a lot of effort. I'll think about it.
Okay, deal. All right, that's all I can ask for. All right, so next on the show, like I said, I couldn't go to BlizzCon. Trying to get a developer on the show, at least a Skype interview or maybe a Battle Deck episode. So, hey, if you like that idea, maybe let them know. You know, send the official Twitter just a message. Hey, we'd love to see you guys on Happy Hearthstone. Don't spam them or anything. Don't be obnoxious. But it is always good just to let them know that we do have a community here that would love to talk more. And I'll do questions and all that sort of stuff if we get a dev on, take your questions and do all that. So on other shows, I've been on Threshold, the other card game podcast, a lot recently. So I just wanted to mention that. ThresholdPodcast.com. Hex is the other card game. They're releasing a lot of PvE content, similar to Naxxramas, but, you know, different style. And it's coming out soon, so we've been talking a lot about that over there. You can check that out. As always, we'd love to know what you thought about this show, and maybe leave an iTunes review if you think it's good. And also let us know what you'd like to see added in future episodes or what hosts you'd love to have on the show. Just send us your feedback.
Bring
however
back
you like.
Adam.
Bring back Adam. Hashtag bring back Adam.
Yep.
There you go. You can find us on Google+. Just search for Happy Hearthstone. On Twitter, I'm at jaugustine. You can email me, ajosh@outlook.com, or leave a comment on the blog, gamediplomat.com. Adam, where can people find you?
I'm at rklager. I have more followers than Josh, therefore I'm more important.
Is
than
that
Josh.
a fact?
I think so.
What? No
Dude,
way.
you're slipping.
I am. I'm falling behind. So
Dude,
I'm
kind of
yesterday's news.
I don't know if you realize this. I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah, you're way ahead of me on followers. Man, all right.
Things are happening.
All right,
okay?
everyone
And
go follow him. He's clearly better.
Things in my life are happening. They're clicking. All right? Just I'll remember you. Don't worry.
Thanks. Yeah, please. Remember me in this pathetic small Hearthstone show you did with me once. Think back on it fondly.
I will never forget our first podcast, which was Magic the Gathering, before Hearthstone was a thing. Hearthstone was like in the womb. and we had a Magic podcast, and that was so much fun.
Hearthstone is what we wanted. We just didn't know it yet.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. Did I say it already? At Arclegger, ARCLEGGER. I'm just a game designer, but I love games and I love Hearthstone. So if you have questions about Hearthstone, feel free to send them my way. I know one time I was on here, I had a conversation. I forgot his name, but we went back and forth on Handlock, like what his version was, what mine was, and it was a good interaction. It was fun. So I don't mind the questions. Don't worry.
Wow, thank you for stepping off your fancy 9,000 follower pedestal long enough to answer questions. We appreciate that.
Well, you just said don't bug them, and I'm
oh,
somebody
yeah.
who doesn't
okay,
mind.
Yeah. You can bug Adam.
Yeah, you can bug me all you want.
I don't care about that. Adam's
care.
not getting me interviews with Hearthstone devs. You can do whatever you want to him.
I'm nobody.
Oh, you're my friend, Adam, and that's enough.
Thank you.
All right,
that's all I need.
Thank you, Adam, for joining us this week. It's really good. I appreciate you taking the time because I know you're busy, but when you told me about your thoughts on randomness, and it changed my whole perspective on the expansion, I just knew we had to talk about it, so thank you.
Good. I would like to give a shout out.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why I know a lot about randomness is one of the game designers, actually the lead game designer of Magic the Gathering, Mark Rosewater, has a great podcast where he talks about design lessons and things that he's learned, and I learned about randomness through him. So I wouldn't know what I know about randomness if it wasn't through him. So I'd just like to shout out that a lot of the stuff that I said today was me kind of speaking through the things that I learned from him.
Very cool. Yeah, Mark Rosewater's podcast is called Drive to Work Podcast. Is that right?
Drive to Work. It's 30 minutes. He's like a really busy guy, so he only does it when he's driving to work. That's the only free time he had. And he basically talks about whatever, some Magic subject. But even if you don't understand Magic at all, there's a lot of really good design lessons.
Yeah, one of the most interesting episodes was the one you basically forced me at gunpoint to watch or listen to. Was the one where he talked about the need for bad cards and why he designs bad cards in Magic, which I think applies to Hearthstone as well.
Oh, totally. And I'm pretty sure a lot of these guys on Hearthstone are well aware of the lessons that Magic has learned.
Oh, yeah.
So
sure.
Hearthstone's in good hands.
Cool. So thank you again, Adam. We'll have you on again soon.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone else for visiting the Happy Hearthstone and having a little fun with us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOreporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOreporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.